I don't mind saying, I don't mind saying this is going to be a hodgepodge. uh, hmm. Yeah, I don't mind saying this is going to be a hodgepodge, because it is. Um, like, okay, so I'm not absolute, but one of the problems or conundrums of absolutism is that um, it doesn't negate relativism in so much as, like, the efficacy of anything that is relativistic has to not only be answered, dealt with, harmonized, reconciled, and bettered by a philosophy, a doctrine, a system of absolutism. Like, it has to be bettered, it has to be answered. If we're in this absolutist versus relativistic thing, like, if we're into the idea or concept of absolutism, one, then all relativisms have to be answered by that thing. It's extremely difficult. The last 32 hours have been a little bit annoying. I had to finish up a job I was working on. There was a deadline. As usual, it was a really great job. I had a nice time there. The people were all great. But as usual, and of course I'm thinking of me and my perspective. There was a lot of bullshit. But all the people I was around were really great. It was a beautiful property in a beautiful place. Much, much nicer than this dump. And it was a nice place to spend, I don't know, 5 weeks. And then today I went, actually, it was just a house down the road where I go all the time. And I got a little bit annoyed there because the want of my company is that I only spend 2 days there, but in speaking with the home, it's a place I go every year, every summer to do maintenance work, but it's never really kept up with. So trying to manage the want of the company I work for, the business that I work for, and the wants of the customer makes me be like, ugh. I feel like I'm in the middle of this tug rope. And that makes me get discouraged. But I should remind myself that things usually pretty well work out. And everybody has good intentions. So I posted a video, my last my last video, dealing with like women, and my video before that dealing with peering, and my video before that dealing with butchery, So there's all these dark subjects of high-minded high-minded high-mindedness has to deal with really dark subjects, And I'm just faced with my own hypocrisy. Because it's a weird thing, because there's the, like, sexual freedom, yet at the same time, sexual repression, yet at the same time, sexual exploitation. And, like, I'm confronted daily with the idea that, like, I'm for Agnes. And if you don't know about Saint Agnes, check it out. Patron saint of rape. You know, and for like the whole thing I'm fighting for. Yet at the same time, I'm excessively lustful, which I know is gross. Like you're probably like, ew. I don't blame you. Trust me. Luckily, when I'm playing with my ding dong, I typically, or never, look in the mirror. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do it. I know it's horrible. But we're in a horrible situation, and we're the only ones who can do anything about it. Lions will not save the world. Sharks will not save the world. At least not today. Who knows what they may become? If time permits, if we act as stewards as we're meant to. So, I have several projects waiting in the wings. I just had a massive download on Bosch, Hieronymus Bosch, Jerome Bosch. Basically, the Garden of Earthly Delights is the history. Well, not only, but okay, let's put it this way. I'm not saying this is how it is, but let's put it this way. Some people are into the idea of time travel, right? And some people are into the idea of prophecy. So let's put it this way. If full-blown, flat-out, dead nuts, genius, godlike, archangel prophecy, alien prophecy, if that's a thing. Okay, I'll put it this way. Hieronymus Bosch Garden of Earthly Delights is so spot on that what I'm saying is that 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now, 100 years from now, 10,000 years from now, when time travel is, when people are so smart, like in some underground intelligence bunker, 1,000 years from now, the Garden of Earthly Delights was constructed by the world then, 1,000 years from now, with the smartest people in the world 1,000 years from now, 2,000, 10,000, 100,000 years from now. The Garden of Earthly Delights is so symbolically saturated, packed, that it was constructed by the greatest minds of 1,000 years from now. Every disciple, every apostle, every yogi, every monk, every Tibetan monk, every Shintoist, every perfected soul, every samurai monk constructed the symbology with this thing and sent it back in time. As much time, effort, and precision was put into that painting as every Hollywood movie condensed to one thing, shoved back through time. Anyway, that's one of the things I'm working on. I don't blame me if you leave now. It's a lot to deal with, as it would be for you. So like if you're still here, it's a lot to deal with. And if by some if for some reason I'm offering anything to you, if Okay. If you're still here, it means that you think I have something to offer. It means you think I have something to tell you, right? And it's hard, and I know it's hard, because it's hard for me right now. So please don't think I am more than I am. I mean, anybody who's clicked off is already like, they already know I ain't more than I am, right? But if you're still here, you may think I'm more than I am, and I'm not. We're in this bag together. Anyway, I'm not sure if this whole video is even a good idea. It's a distraught day, but I'm being squeezed. And this is what's coming out. I've been trying to work on the idea. I have a book I want to write, or like, I don't know. I have so many different like tracks of thought, things I want to work on. But the concept or the title, I love titles. I've talked about it before. I love titles. The title, The Vegan Cross. Except I kind of hate the word vegan. Even though, like, Botticelli's painting of The Birth of Venus is really a painting of Agnes, symbolically. It's Agnes. It's Agnes, which relates to 300 AD. I've talked about that, but like, and then if you take Venus and Agnes and just kind of mash it up a little, you get vegans. And then vegan is it's associated with the vagus nerve, and there's a lot there. But there's just like this really negative connotation around the word vegan. So like in my heart, when I think the vegan cross, it's like, I love it, you know. And I've been trying to work on a symbol for it, and it's somewhat like, you know, a cross with a V, and trying to figure out how to get the V in there, right? The simplest way to do it is just like a triangle with a line through it. But then that kind of looks either occultish or symbolic, or it looks like a physics symbol or something. It just doesn't ring true. And then the other day, the Chinese government introduced the yuan as a digital currency concept. They're going to be releasing the yuan, Y-U-A-N, the yuan, a digital Chinese currency, which looks a lot like my idea of the vegan cross. So it's like, I don't necessarily want it to be that, but I want to find a better way to say the word vegan. What I prefer at this time, you know, and I never thought I'd get here, because it's like I'm totally being I'm being all preachy on the whole Jesus thing, you know. I'm like, Jeebus, you know. And it's like, I don't know shit about the Bible. I don't know shit about this, that, whatever. I got this children's Bible thing, and just fucking, you know. It's like once you're branded, man, you can't take away that brand. You got to deal with it, you know. So like, that's my brand, but yet like I don't fit into my brand. There ain't no church I'd ever go to. Ain't nowhere I fit. I hate it. Maybe there is somewhere I'd fit, or maybe there will be a place I fit, you know. I keep waiting to instigate myself to be the hobo that goes out and follows that secret path, you know. But it's like, the secret paths in the past were made because this path didn't exist. Now this path exists. So now this path, phones, videos, talking, conversation, and being true, I'm hiding myself in the way that I title my movies. I'm trying to hide myself. I'm trying to obscure myself for a time in hopes that when I come to something, all the rest of this shit will mean something. Now, to me, it means something now because I know what I'm talking about. So when I watch myself, I'm like, pretty good. Sometimes. Other times, I'm like, huh. I mean, I already know tomorrow morning when I wake up, just like every video on this, well, not every video on this channel, almost every, high 90% of the videos on this channel, the next morning when I woke up, I was like, ugh, idiot. But then sometimes I watch them again and I'm like, meh, not bad. I think I lost my train of thought there, but. Right, so I was saying about the vegan cross, right? That's the message of the day, vegan cross. And it's also interesting. All right, we'll just get into it, right? I already talked about like me being a hypocrite, all this kind of thing. All the bad shit, sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? That's the false god I worship. Yet, that's still better than the Aztec. Sex. Here's the new. Okay. It used to be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Here's the new saying. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, and cucumber sandwiches? There were some dudes at a Dave Matthews concert, I don't know, 20 years ago who sold me some cucumber sandwiches for a few bucks. That's where I got that idea from. And I would have never went there if my old college housemate hadn't invited me, and I'm pretty sure she bought my ticket. We went to several Dave Matthews concerts together. And I think it was Hartford, Connecticut, or thereabouts. Sitting on the grass. I never wanted a like close-up seat. I liked being on the grass. It was nice. Go wherever, do whatever. It's fun. Her name was Diana. And I always called her Diana like the Megadeth song. Diana! Anyway. I'm so disappointed in this video already, but all right. Just give me a second for this indiscretion. I ain't proud of it, but it's real. I've been trying to count my smokes again lately. I've been doing a little better. I've been chewing some Nicorette. I've been doing a little better with my booze. I've been trying to mix my wine with seltzer water. But if I just give it all up, man, I'm very scared for the torrent of reality that will come. Alright, butchery. The vegan cross. Gotta come up with a better name than vegan. Where's what I'm looking for? Where is it? Alright, 20 minutes, I'm alright. The bloodless sacrifice. The bloodless sacrifice. Symbology, this, that, whatever, but what I love, here's what I love about the bloodless sacrifice. Here's what I love about the last meal. And this is how fucked up shit was back then, right? This is how fucked up shit was back then. And you know, it's like the whole Catholic versus the Protestant thing. Like, well, was it the body? Was it the blood? Is it the Eucharist or not? Or does it symbolize it? Or is it? Both. Why? What's the moral of the story? God, I just keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it's the fundamental truth of the fucking world, man. Is it or isn't it? Is it the blood in the body? That's how. See, the bloodless sacrifice. I don't remember which comes first. Both at the same time, the blood and the body, same thing, right? It's good bread. That's really good bread. The world was so fucked up back then. Because Jesus weren't just the Messiah of the Jews. Like, no offense, Jews, you know, but you gotta deal with something, right? Like all the shit, prejudice against Jews, yes, right? And all those other fucking tribes, this, that, whatever, all these other fucking nations, yeah. Fucking murderous motherfuckers, yeah. Everybody's a murderous motherfucker, including y'all, you know? Including Paul, until he was converted. Until Saul became Paul, you know? And the Magi, who came from the east, where this whole fucking thing came from, the beauty of it and why I love it is because story or person or both, people were so obsessed with blood sacrifice, still are, all around the world, every religion, all over the Mideast, all over Europe, all over Africa, blood sacrifice. Way before kosher butchery, and way before Khalil Kalal butchery. Spilling the blood, man. I remember watching, like in Africa, like way before all the fucking Islamic shit, killing an antelope or whatever deer type thing or goat type thing, and just drinking the blood straight off, right? Like right out of the wound of the neck. And it's powerful. It's iron. So people talk about health and people talk about like keto diets and and it ain't nothing against necessarily, like I feel you hurt, man. And like one of my favorite or two of my favorite people in the world are Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson, and they're on like that meat only diet, and like I love them. I think they're just like such awesome people, but like I also know that like ultimately that's not the way. And I don't want to, certainly, I mean, they're both smarter and better, and like they're better than me in every conceivable way, really, but I also know that like I'm glad that it saved them because they're worth it, but like even they have to change, like we all have to change. What I love about the bloodless sacrifice of the last meal, people were so murderous and butcherous then and now. For the last 2,000 years, people are so murderous and butcherous, and it's not a condemnation. I'm murderous and butcherous, even though like I don't eat meat now. Like I'm an angry person. I'm lustful. I'm all these things, and that's. I also don't want to deny like sensation and touch and nice things, right? That's nice. I don't want to deny that. I don't want to be that way about it. But in this world that eats itself, we're all fucking crazy by the madness of the viciousness of the world. The world's fucking vicious. But it need not be so vicious. And besides, God Almighty, we're the only ones who can change it. When the dinosaurs became extinct by whatever mass event happened. If you believe in them. If you don't, just stay on board. But like what happened? The biggest murderous enterprise was demolished in favor of a little shrew. If that's your bag, But the shrews didn't make that happen. Unless their higher mindedness in the form of prayers sent tachyons backwards through time to nudge an asteroid. Do prayers go backwards in time? People were so murderous they required blood and required meat, and we still do. Sad. Very sad. People had to be convinced that wine and bread were flesh and blood in order for the sacrifice to matter. People, murderous people, who cleaned their sins. Jesus died for my sins. Why? Because before Jeebus, And I don't mean any offense to God or the Son of God by saying that. And I don't mean any offense to you saying that. Just trying to get in there. Like, before, Jeebus, to clean our sins, we needed a scapegoat. We needed the blood of the Lamb. We needed to place our sin on something else and kill it for God. And Jesus came and said, nope. You want some flesh and blood? I'm gonna let motherfuckers kill me and become the biggest thing in the world. And y'all gonna eat a piece of fucking bread and drink a little bit of grape and say, yeah, flesh and blood. That's the genius. That's the inspiration. That's the godliness. That's the anti-butchery. That's the stewardship of the bloodless sacrifice. A little bit of grain, a little bit of yeast, a little bit of water, a little bit of salt sometimes. Fruit, yeast, and maybe a little water. Bloodless. Let himself be butchered by the butchers, and gave us this to kill butchery itself. Butchered by the butchers to kill butchery itself. It's no small thing. It's it. So anyway, on the subject, right? Because then people are always talking about Satan, right? Okay, so there's Isaiah 11:1, where it's like, God's like, my guts are full of your burnt offerings. Fuck you, basically. It's basically the, Isaiah 11:1 paraphrase is like, fuck y'all motherfuckers, give me all this shit, burnt offerings, you dumb motherfuckers, eat the good of the land. The good. Right. Sorry for being like that. That's just how today's going. I had a bad day, so I'm like angry. So I'm trying to use it for good. I hope this is kind of good. And then, it was just like today I was listening to some Graham Hancock stuff, and he was talking about Noah. So I looked into it a little bit more, and it was talking about how Noah made a sacrifice after the ark, and I was like, what? That fucking douche? Of course, we all know he was drunken after the whole flood deal. I know how that goes. But anyway, the whole gig was like, it says it's like God and the Lord, and we always think of like God and the Lord, same gig, but it ain't. And so God said, like, let every fowl, every cow, every cattle, this, that, let them go after the flood, like Genesis 8 something. It's like, let them after the dove, after the 601st year. What's that mean? But, let everything go, let them multiply, repopulate the earth. So God says, let every good fowl and good cattle and clean thing go and do their thing. And then Noah's like, okay. And then the Lord, then he builds an altar and makes a sacrifice to the Lord of the clean fowls and the this and that and this and that and this and that. So it's like, God said, let everything go. And then Noah's like, okay, I'm going to build an altar and sacrifice to you. Except the God that says, let everything go and multiply, is the Elohim. And the Lord that Noah sacrifices to is Jehovah. So there's an issue there. And then, after Noah sacrifices, the Lord, in the King James, it's like a sweet savor. The Lord smells a sweet savor. But I looked it up on Bible Hub in the Strong's Concordance, and one of the translations of sweet is tranquilizing smell. And we know there are things that are bad that are tranquilizing. Like cocaine is not nutritious, but it fucking kicks ass. But anyway, so it's like God says, let everything go. And then Noah builds an altar to sacrifice to the Lord. Elohim say, let him go. And then Noah builds an altar and sacrifices to Jehovah. And then Jehovah smells a tranquilizing smell. Now, I know how it's normally interpreted, but man, people interpret shit every which way. But the only way shit totally makes sense, all the way down, so far as the Bible, as a book which has a climax, a moral, right? Not everybody is a fucking good character, not even like the good guys. Right? Not everybody's Frodo and Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. After the sacrifice, the Lord, in his heart, says, I won't do this shit again. I won't kill everything on man's behalf again. But he says it in his heart. Then, Genesis 9, God, Elohim, bless Noah. So, Elohim say, let everything go. Then Noah does his sacrifice and burnt offerings, and the Lord's like, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Then Genesis 9, the Elohim, again, Elohim say, let everything go. Then Noah sacrifices to the God of war, Jehovah. And then Jehovah in his heart's like, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. I don't think I'm going to try this again. I just killed everything so that man could worship correctly, and then what's he do? The first thing he does, kills a bunch of animals that the Elohim just said let go. God's above the Lord. God's above the Lord. At least in English grammar, a God is above a Lord. So God says, let him go. And then Noah sacrifices to the Lord, not God. And then the Lord, in his heart, is like, just wiped out the world for the sins that man created, and the first thing that man does is kill something which God is above the Lord. God is above the Lord. God said, let him go, and he said he killed him. For me, I fucked up. As the God of war. That's why he said he wasn't going to do it again. He's like, it all went wrong. The Lord waged war on the world for the sins of man. And then after all that shit, the Lord steps aside and God comes back in and says, I bless you anyway, man. Do your fucking best. So it's kind of like the Lord got in the way of God the whole time round. We can't worship God, and I don't even mean this necessarily in the Elohim Jehovah type of way, right? Someone once said that Yehuda's the dude. Yehuda, not Jehovah. But you can't worship the Lord over God. Anyway, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to work it out. I'm at. Not that house painters are dumb. My boss, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. You know, a lot of people I work with, they're super smart in every kind of way that I'm not. They got houses. They're good with money. They're good at doing tons of shit I can't do. But I do fit the profile of dumb house painter. I'm that guy. I hope I'm worth something anyway. But anyway, on the idea of the butchery front too, and all the people who are obsessed with Jeebus and the apocalypse and Satan, because there's the upside down cross. But then, I mean, and I'm just exposing things that I'm just coming to myself. It's like, because there's the upside down cross and Satanism, and it's like, why would anybody ever do that? Like, I just don't get it. Like, I like heavy music. I like a lot of the aesthetics of, like, I wouldn't say debauchery, but like dark aesthetics. And some are dark that recognize darkness, and some arts, some music, some books, some TV shows, some movies, some philosophies like worship this darkness. But like, if you've ever really dipped a toe in darkness, there's no worshiping of it. If you've touched the darkness, you would never ever worship it. Ever. It's impossible. So, but anyway, the upside down cross, Peter was hung upside down. So the upside down cross of Satanism is really just a reappropriated, like, it's a Christian, it's a Catholic symbol. An upside down cross is the Catholic Church, not as Satanism, but as Peter. So it's like, oh yeah, Peter's a Satanist. No. In a sense, as an illiterate, as a lesser than, as a coward, you know, because of his denial. Coward, illiterate, meat eater. There's all these things. He was like so much less than Jesus, but he was the rock, right? So why is that associated with Satanism? Because it's trying to be flipped and twisted. Let me give you a better example, and then I'm just gonna give you a better example, and then you can put it back on Peter. And this is difficult, man. I haven't wanted to say this, but I'm gonna say it. The Baphomet. The goat. The goat with the upside down pentagram. I mean, it's just fucking math, man. But what's the goat? The goat is Khalil Butchery. I'm sorry I'm pronouncing it wrong. And I want to learn Arabic, and I want to learn much about Islam and so on. And I don't know as much about it, but I know it's been misappropriated, for sure. It also seems that Mecca has been reappropriated from Petra. Seems as though Petra was actually Mecca. There's a lot of work on that, and it fits. It also fits that Petra, it fits. Man, this is really hard, and it's going to be hard to talk about. It's going to be hard to say right. I hate the word Satan, just like I hate the word vegan. I hate it. I still like the word God. Unfortunately, because of the relentless programming, I still have a pretty hard-oriented male idea of God. Though I've done better and I've done some work on the idea of, you know, Mary or the mother or the womb or the substrate upon which God creates. Like God, there are mathematical laws God even can't break. In a sense, like God can't make 1 + 1 not equal 2, so to speak. God cannot make 1 + 1 not equal 2. And that line of logic goes a far way. It goes a far way. There are things God cannot even do. And that speaks to the idea of what perfection is and the way in which we participate. And the whole idea of service, too. Service to each other and serving God. What that actually means. God has the perfect knowledge of hurt. Nothing hurts as much as God. Nothing hurts as much as God. Nothing. No thing, no one, no soul, no individual, no entity, no spirit, no anything knows hurt. Pain. As much as God. That's why we're here. To make things better. We're failing. Well, I shouldn't say. There's a lot of success. Man, we're in the middle of a fucking... We're in the middle of a war. And it is the war of butchery. But anyway, on that whole deal with the halal butchery gig, and I don't know about the interpretations, I don't know about the history, but I know in my heart, like, something went wrong somewhere. Something went wrong somewhere when that type of butchery was allowed with the goats. If you were a goat, just imagine you're a goat. Imagine every single person in the world was a goat, or imagine everybody you knew was a goat. And imagine some other species was coming along, herding you up, slitting your throat in a ritual sacrifice, and you knew it. So a lot of people in the whole conspiracy theory realm, like, they get what I'm talking about, because it's like, yeah, they're herding us up. These other people are herding us up to sacrifice us, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it, except for the fact that you've just missed the most interesting story, true or not, kinda true, kinda not, that's ever existed. But anyway, setting that aside, imagine that you're a goat, or a bull, or a lamb, and you're the thing that is butchered and offered to God, that your blood is spilled on the corners of the altar, burnt, bled, scun, burnt, eaten. Thanks, God. Oh, thank you. Very tasty. Now, if you're that goat, if you're that bull, if you're that lamb, if you're that chicken, if you're that goat who knows what's going on, who's your God? Who's your God? And why? Now, I'm not saying this is like, I'm not like praising Satanism. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, why has that symbol arisen? That symbol has arisen. So for all y'all motherfucker folks who go to, I don't care if you're Catholic, Protestant, whatever. You know, they call it communion, or they call it the, I can't remember, I was always in different Protestant churches as a kid, but they call it, I can't remember, communion or the Eucharist or like whatever it is, but whether you're eating a wafer and drinking wine, or whether you're eating a piece of Wonder Bread and drinking a little bit of grape juice, the symbolism is the same. You're eating the blood and the flesh, which is fucking grain, fruit, yeast, and water, and air. The greatest intellect, the greatest God among men ever, said, sacrifice this, drink a little juice, eat a little bread, and yeah, just be cool with that, and please don't kill anything. That part explicitly in black and white didn't make it in the Bible. Why? Because if he'd said that, well, I shouldn't say if he'd said that. He did say it. But if that part made it in the Bible wouldn't have spread around the world. Because all us bloodthirsty, fucking lusty, fucking fleshy motherfuckers would have been like, no! Ew! We needed all that other, fuck them motherfucker shit, fuck them motherfucker shit, fuck them motherfucker shit, that the whole Bible's pretty much built out of, except for, like, Jesus' exact words. All the rest of it's like, fuck them motherfuckers, fuck them motherfuckers, fuck them motherfuckers, fuck them motherfuckers, and that's why everybody's read it for all these years being like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, like, But that's like, that's the time capsule. That's the Trojan horse, like the peacefulness and the willing to die for the truth and to not butcher and to be butchered and to spread a ritualistic, bloodless sacrifice around the world. So if you're not Christian, and I you know, there ain't no Christian I ever met that I'm, you know, I ain't saying I'm this kind of Christian, because ain't nobody saying it like this, you know. Yet, I love all kinds of Christians and non-Christians, at least theoretically. Once I step out of my house and go into the world, I'm just like, oh y'all motherfuckers. Got to start somewhere. In this butcherous, fucking bloodthirsty world, you walk out of your house, every chipmunk, every groundhog, every fucking bird, they fly away. Unless you're on the Galapagos. Unless you're in the Garden of Eden. As soon as Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit, God's like, y'all motherfuckers, put them in animal hides. They didn't have animal hides before they ate the forbidden fruit. What's the most popular animal hide? Think about it. Buffalo, cow, deer. What do they all got? What's a deer got? Branches, a tree. What's that forbidden fruit? Everything was all cool. And then dudes killed an animal, sacrificed their own kid, fucked their own daughter. Never mind moms on their sons. Different story. But not irrelevant. But we gotta forgive. Like, so I'm being all like, meh about it, but like, I'm the biggest wimp in the world. As soon as I get out my door tomorrow morning, when I'm gonna be going like this, like, I can't believe I made that stupid video last night, what an idiot. I'm gonna be walking out my door, and as soon as I leave my driveway, I'm gonna be like, driving like this down the road, like, I'm gonna go into the store to like, get some gas and like, get my lunch, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, have a good day. I mean, I'm the biggest wimp in the world. I'm really glad that I have this opportunity to speak to myself and remind myself of like my inner voice and like actually make it an outer voice. I hope someday I can become like a real man. Including just having fun and like going like this. That's as far up as I could lift my legs. That's part of being a real man. However, we live in a really brutal, tough world. So it would really be great if everybody was if everybody was like a Karate Kid monk. If everybody was I know a lot of people don't like Gandhi, but take the generic. A lot of people like Gandhi. I don't know shit about Gandhi, but we all know like Gandhi. Oh yeah, Gandhi. So if everybody was a Mr. Miyagi Gandhi, if everybody was like a Mr. Miyagi Jesus, a But like, yeah, I saw Joe Rogan do some fucking, I can't remember, it was like he was smacking something, then doing this like backwards kick thing that was like, yeah, and him too, you know, like he's a hunter, and I disagree with that. I think it's ultimately wrong. It's just that I think that things would have to transform so completely, so crazy for everything to actually work, for this whole puzzle to work out. But it's not just what I think, it's what I know. The most powerful force that needs to be united is the vegans and the Christians. And the Christians need to become vegan. And the vegans need to understand the true, it's so simple. The true symbology, it's so simple. People get all this, that, whatever with the code. But the code was meant to be complex so that its simplicity could be released at the time when its simplicity could be spread upon the earth. It's like this magic bullet, man. It's this story that touched everything. And now it's still the biggest thing in the world. It's a story that touched everything, and it's still the biggest thing in the world, and it's all wrong. But that magic bullet of the absolute, undeniable, the moral of the story. Never mind, well, what about this code? What about that code? Okay, what about the code of the moral of the story? A bloodless sacrifice. A little bit of juice, a little bit of bread, grains, fruit. You take the fruit from the tree stands. The grains, when they're dead and dying, essentially, once the annuals die, you take what's left over. When the annual plants die, you take what's left over. When the tree that lives year after year after year, yeah, you cherry pick. Oh, you're cherry picking. Well, yeah. Cherry's the good part. The grape's the good part. The berry's the good part. The strawberry's the good part. We model digestion after respiration, and it clears everything. If 2.2 billion people do that, or 3% of the 2.2 billion people do that strongly, and it'll sweep across the world like nothing you ever see. The devil will rear its ugly head, yes. But to engage in the bloodless sacrifice with conviction. Never mind all the like yoga, never mind the, also mind all the meditative yogas and ways of strengthening ourselves. And like I said, I'm just a wimp. There's a billion other things I'd rather be doing. But this has to be done. It's like I could go out, I could involve myself in this or that business, but I spend all my time trying to like research things and trying to learn and trying to understand and trying to find the way to like make this point and learn this point and understand this point and make a less butcherous world, because I can't exist. I can't exist in this world if I'm not fighting to destroy this false idea. I just can't. So everything has to be about that. And the only other thing that my life is about is like when that shit gets too heavy, it's like, okay, I need to relax or I'm gonna fucking slit my throat. That's my life. So then I watch a bunch of movies, but the truth's there too. Movies got the truth in them. Because you got thousands and thousands and thousands of the most creative people in the world just putting all this fucking psychic fucking energy into one project. So yeah, it's packed. Love the sacrifice. The vegan cross. But yeah, what I was going to say for all the folk who don't warrant into the whole Christian thing or think that all the Abrahamic religions are the same, they're not. There's nothing like it. And that's why the Magi came. Because they, oh, well, it's a repetition of Zoroastrianism and it's a repetition of this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing. And yeah, that's true. Because that pattern has repeated over time, which is to say, and I'm not quoting or paraphrasing Dan Winter, though Dan Winters is, and if anybody knows, that motherfucker knows, says that the virgin birth is actually a relatively common phenomenon. But it's like, yeah, this dude, this Zoroaster, Pythagoras, like all these different people throughout history, Krishna, all this kind of thing, the whole like virgin birth, blah, 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 sacrifice, how that's like a repeated theme and Jesus is just one of them. But that's not true. Why isn't it true? Because he's the one who fucking spread around the world, right? It's just like COVID-19. Right? There's a million different COVIDs, there's a million different flus, there's a million different viruses, million, billion, trillion, gazillion. But that's the one that hit, right? It ain't COVID-12. Whoever heard of that shit? Nobody knows shit about COVID-12. Why? Because COVID-12 didn't make it. It's part of the lineage. It's part of the story. Sure. We'll call COVID-12 Zoroaster. Right? We'll call COVID-7 Pythagoras. Right? Well, no, a lot of people have heard of both of them, right? But Jeebus, so to speak, he's the COVID-19 of the fucking... He's the COVID-19 and the Spanish flu of the fucking... shit about that. And what's it about? Bloodless sacrifice. Because he and his people, and not the way we see the pictures, they were all fucking dark skinned, this shit, if not flat out black, So it ain't no white thing and it ain't no like founding father thing, except for the fact that like, people think George Washington was running the show and people hate George Washington, and I don't blame you because of the history that you learned and that he had, the way that George Washington, the spy master, had to present himself as. He presented himself as a certain thing. Meanwhile, he was subservient. He was an employee of essentially a crossbreed of a Kemetan Ethiopian master. Back on the farm, pretending to be a slave. Yeah, I said it. It's fucking true. And I'm not trying to like culture signal or be like, yeah. It's just the fucking truth, man. Or at least that story or that fable that I just said, that couple sentence fable, is more true. More true. More.